Howdy people, Chris here with some more lovely Cursed Curations. And this year is 1939. We have a lovely lineup of films for today. A total of 27 actually. And they're not all bangers, but we have in most part bangers. This is a damn good year. Perhaps the best year we had thus far. At least in my opinion. But first up on our list is At the Circus. This is another Marx Brothers film. So it's gonna be a pretty decent one. I actually enjoyed At the Circus. Overall, in my opinion, I think it's like one of the strongest Marx Brothers films, at least in my opinion. But I should actually stop skipping ahead and let's get to the actual nitty gritty. So to give you a description of the film, is basically the Marx Brothers are trying to help out this circus, more or less, the owner, to recover some money that was stolen, and before he basically loses the damn job. That's the whole entire film. Pretty simple. Um, I really love these simplistic stories. Like, they're pretty resolvable, and it does get resolved, by the way. Obviously, I mean, how else is it supposed to end? But the director is Edward Buzzell. I've never heard of this fellow in my life. And the stars, of course, is the Marx Brothers, Groucho Marx, and Chico Marx. And I don't know why they're separate on the listing here, but this is what it is. Um, that's just how it is, though. We do have a few other actresses here that aren't mentioned outright, at least not on the actual main stars, of course. We have Florence Rice, Margaret Dumont, Eve Arden, and I believe Harpo Marx. Isn't Harpo Marx a woman? I might be completely wrong. No, it's a man. What am I thinking about here? So when I hear the name Harp or Harpo, I think of Harper. It's typically a woman's name. All right, enough rambling. Let's get on to the trivia. So, for trivia number one. So from now on, we'll be doing like 3 trivia pieces, unless I decide to do more for each film. For Groucho Marx's performance of Lydia, the Tattooed Lady, additional lyrics were written by E.Y. Harburg, especially for the screening of a film, for Allied servicemen in European war zones. The special lyrics included the line, "When she stands, the world grows littler. When she sits on Hitler." This version of the song was filmed and included in prints of a film distributed in Great Britain and France, and was rated with marked enthusiasm during screenings in those countries. The Marx Brothers had been out of favor at MGM since sudden death in 1936 of their producer and benefactor, Irving Thalberg. Oh yeah, I remember that one. During the marking of a day at the races, 1937, in the middle of production on this film, longtime Thalberg rival Louis B. Mayer removed songwriters Harold Arlen and E.Y. Harburg and reassigned them to the Prestige MGM production The Wizard of Oz in 1939, which is another film we're covering today, by the way. Groucho Marx was fond of recounting how the original owner of the gorilla skin used in the film was so incensed after the stunt men wearing it poked ventilation holes in it with an ice pick that he took his suit and walked off with the picture, forcing the producers to hastily rent an orangutan skin as a replacement. For this reason, Groucho claimed the gorilla gets bigger and smaller from a shot to shot. The man in the gorilla suit, in fact, is Charles Gamora, well-known movie sculptor and gorilla artist, wearing his own custom-made suit. Oh, that is pretty intriguing. So that is our trivia for this film. So, it's a pretty simple film. I won't really go into much more detail here. For how I will score this film, I want to give it a 6. I wasn't blown away. I didn't hate it. I thought, again, I said this earlier, but I think it's the best of the Marx Brothers. I'll be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of the Marx Brothers. Comedy is just, it's not my big thing. But like a lot of films we've seen thus far in our journey has been, well, comedy. But yeah, that's my opinion on the circus. At the circus. So next up this is a rather lovely film. I believe it is called Babes in Arms. It is a musical So as you know, my opinion on musicals is not very high, but I will try to be as non-biased as possible, as I can at the very least. So to describe this film, it's about a group of vaudevillains struggling to compete with talkies. Hits the road, hoping for a comeback. Frustrated to be left behind, all their kids put on a show themselves, raising money for their families and to prove they've got talent too. I love the concept. I love the concept. That is very cool. You know, it's about a struggling thing going on here that, well, they're being outpaced by the talkies. You know, the talkies have blown up, and now people are losing jobs. They don't want to be felt left behind, and then the kids get tossed in there. You know, they have the stuff to make it too. And I will admit, I actually did enjoy the musical here. It overall was a very enjoyable experience. Oh boy. Hope you guys didn't hear that. That damn thing was loud. So the actors and actresses of this lovely film, and so the reason why this film sold for me so hard was because of this is a name that, you know, we all should know to some degree, Judy Garland. She is on this bad boy of a film. How rude of me. I forgot to mention the director. This is Busby Berkeley. Beyond Judy Garland, we have Mickey Rooney and Charles Winninger. I hope I pronounced Mr. Mickey's last name right. So some last names kind of trip me up. That's how it is, though. That's how it is. I love Judy Garland. She is an amazing actress, and yes, she will be getting her own Legend lens, but probably a bit later as we see, you know, a bit more of her, you know, her work. I feel like we should probably get some more of her stuff in before I do that. So let us hop into the trivia. This is MGM's biggest money grosser of 1939, surpassing The Wizard of Oz, and also in the same year, for that production year. The parody sequence My Day, featuring Mickey Rooney as President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Judy Garland as First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, was removed from the negative after the president's death on April 12, 1945. The routine for many years, thought to be lost, was rediscovered on 16mm film, and now can be viewed on Warner Brothers Home Video DVD, the Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland collection. One second, I need a water. I was actually going pretty good there. I didn't stutter too much. I'm pretty proud about that. Progress. Footage from earlier Mickey Rooney film, Broadway to Hollywood, 1933, is seen to show flashbacks of Mickey Moraine, Rooney's character as a child performing in vaudeville. Okay, so this film, I will actually, this might be like my highest scores I've ever given a musical, a 7. I dare say an 8. You know what? Yeah, 8. This film gets an easy 8. I truly thought that Mr. Rooney and Garland's performance here sold it overall. Now, as always, it would probably be higher, even more so if I wasn't so biased towards musicals to begin with. I think what really ruined musicals for me was we're all in this together. High School Musical type bullshit. But let's get to our next film before I rant about it, because oh boy, I will, and I won't shut up about it. The next film is Beau Geste. I probably said that all sorts of wrong. So it was a film about 3 adopted English brothers who joined the French Foreign Legion in North Africa, after one of them steals their adopted family's famous heirloom sapphire. That is the film. I thought the fight scenes in this thing was pretty damn good. That's what I'll say immediately. So our director here is William A. Wellman. Our stars is, of course, Gary Cooper, gotta love Cooper, Ray Milland, and Robert Preston. So I recognize Gary Cooper. I feel like most people should recognize Gary Cooper. He's Cooper. Of course you recognize him. The other 2 fellows I do not recognize, unfortunately. But we do have a female actress here, a very top of the list with them, Susan Hayward. I kind of recognize her. She might have been in a few other films I've seen on this journey, but I could be wrong. I'm sorry I'm not, going a bit deeper into the story here. We have a lot of films today, and I don't want to stay stuck on them for too long. Perhaps if I get halfway through, I'll start getting a bit deeper, But for now, I'll just be kind of blazing through until we get to the actual big one I actually want to talk about pretty in depth. So, where was I? Ah, yes, to the trivia. Ronald Colman was initially slated to reprise his role of Beau Geste, but he was tied up in making 2 other films for Paramount, on loan from Sam Godwin. Gary Cooper was 38, although his character was supposed to be in his early 20s. This remake of Beau Geste, 1926, was shot on the same sets at the same location in Yuma, Arizona, as the original. Oh wow! You know what? Probably next week, I might go back and do a rewind video, and maybe I'll see it. It could be interesting. Um, not to go beyond that there, but this film, I think its real big selling point, okay, the story was whatever. The fucking fight scenes, that is what sold it for me. I loved it. The choreography, okay, I'm gonna say that word wrong. The choreography, I'm gonna pronounce words right one of these days, was amazing. I enjoyed everything from that. And I also think there's not like enough films like tackling North Africa, in a combat scenario. And this film did it. I believe there's a whole thing involving a whole mutiny. I'm be real. It's been months since I've seen this film. This video was supposed to be done forever ago, and I was so slacking on it. But I do indeed recall a mutiny, because mutinies are important. But let's get to the trivia. At the film's world premiere, the first reel of 1926 silent version of Beau Geste was shown just before the entire 1939 sound version, an effort to demonstrate how far films had advanced in 13 years. This almost backfired because the film apparently followed the 1926 one extremely closely, and some of the first night critics were annoyed rather than pleased at this, feeling that this remake should have been more imaginative. However, this did not keep it from becoming a smash hit and a film classic. That, I actually applaud them for making that attempt, because, it's a true game changer that, hey guys, it's been 13 years and it has changed this much. It's like showing off a rocket ship compared to the first ever aircraft from ever so long ago. And just imagine people being like, but it's not imaginative enough. My boy, it's a rocket. Ronald Colman was initially slated wait, I think I already did that one. Yeah, I did. Gary Cooper was yep, I did that too. Okay, I read over a lot of this. I got like rewinded there. Holy crap! Let me my score before I start looping again. I think this film, just for the pure of the fight scene, and I kind of digged the whole the romance thing going on with Isolde. I think the character's name was. I enjoyed that. It wasn't horrible. I give this film an 8. Yeah, this film, I really enjoyed it. So, let's go to the next film, Dark Victory, and it has our girl Bette Davis. Bette Davis is a character who oh boy, I can't wait to discuss a whole legend lens on her. She's gonna get one. I still need to work on the legend lens for next week. Oh crap, I just spoiled it. I'm doing legend lens next week. Oh well, Dark Victory time. So this is a film I will actually talk about a bit more compared to like the last few I did. So our director here is Edmund Goulding, or Golden. And our stars, of course, is Bette Davis, George Brent, Humphrey Bogart. Another character we've seen numerous times. Humphrey will get his day, but no, that's not today. So let me describe this film. It's a little more than the huge. So Judith, wow, I almost lost my voice there. Judith Traherne is at the height of young society when Dr. Frederick Steele diagnoses a brain tumor. After surgery, she falls in love with Steele. The doctor tells her secretary that the tumor will come back and eventually kill her. Learning this, Judith becomes manic and depressive. Her horse trainer, Michael, who loves her, tells her to get as much out of life as she can. She marries Steele, who intends to find a cure for her illness. As he goes off to a conference in New York, failing eyesight indicates to Judith she is dying. That is the overall gist there. Sorry, I required a bit of water there. That one was a little bit of a tongue twister. But we have some juicy lore, the background trivia. Off screen, Bette Davis suffered a nervous breakdown during filming as a result of her crumbling marriage to Harmon Nelson. Reportedly, producer Hal B. Wallace convinced Davis that she could benefit by using these real life emotions of pain and loss to enhance the portrayal of her character. Meanwhile, Davis's marital problems didn't prevent her from working on an affair with co-star George Brent. Davis and Brent appeared in a total of 11 films together. Bette Davis said that this was her favorite role, which I think is very intriguing considering all that was happening in the background. I personally would have some pretty dark memories if that was me, but that's how it is. The scene in Dr. Steele's office where Judith can't light her cigarette, and then a few minutes later she can't light Dr. Steele's, was devised by Edmund Golding. He explained it as, when Bette Davis can't light her own cigarette, you know something is seriously wrong with her. Yeah, from what I understand, at least in the few magazines I've seen with like some gossip, she was a prolific smoker. So that's just how it is. So this film, I will give a 7. Yeah, this is a time where I'm quite happy with the films, unlike usual where I'm usually quite upset. This next film, I think, has the hardest cover ever. It is called Daybreak. I sincerely like this is perhaps like the best, if not the best film of perhaps this decade. Like maybe I'm exaggerating, but I really vibe this film. So our director here is Marcel Carn, and our stars is Jane Gabin, Jacqueline Laurent, and Artelitly. I probably said that wrong. So let me go down and describe to you all the film. This will be a little bit longer, but that's okay. Francois, or Francis, depending who you ask, a sympathetic factory worker, kills Valentine with a gun. He locked himself in his furnished room and starts remembering how he was led to murder. He met once Franquise, a young fleurist, and they fell in love, but Franquise was gotten round by Valentine, a dog trainer, a Machiavellian guy. Yeah. It's really interesting on how things are recounted, and I believe there's a whole other film that we actually did on the channel a while back ago. Is there's kind of a similar thing going on where a character is recanting things that happened in the past. It's very much like slipping my mind on the name, unfortunately. But beyond that, I thought this film it was doing so well for itself, and I just really wonder on like what did they do to make the actors do so well in this film. Not to skip ahead, but this film's getting like a whole 9, by the way. Um, that's a bare minimum, by the way, bare minimum. And beyond that, I thought so. Despite the fact that we labeled this as a crime film, it does dive heavily into the romantic side as well, which is good. Let's dive into the trivia. While not the first film to use dissolves to represent flashbacks, it was considered too new a method in the language of cinema that its producers insisted on pre-title cards to avoid any confusion. Jean Gabin, or Jean, I don't know. I'm gonna say Jean. Jean Gavin's monologue to the crowd towards the end of the movie is famous. Wow, I'm butchering this. Is famous. He delivered it so intensely that immediately afterwards he cried his eyes out in his dressing room. See, powerful fucking film. The main square on which the movie opens and in which sometimes scenes occur afterwards was created for the movie, including the buildings, shops, street, and the tall building in which the main character lives. The backside was open, which facilitated shooting inside and allowed the acclaimed traveling shot from top to bottom at the staircase. I don't know why I was butchering that there. Oh my lord. So yes, this film at bare minimum is getting a 9 from me, but I'm feeling it. 10. It was that damn good. It was that damn good. So next up is Drums Along the Mohawk. So this one is a journey. That is what I'll say immediately. So it is directed by John Ford, and our stars is Claudette Colbert, Henry Fonda, and Edna May Oliver. A lovely cast, and I believe Miss Claudette did an amazing job. I think she outshined everyone else, at least in my opinion. It's a film that you can probably tell by the name. It does star Indians. That's what people often get confused by. Like when you say Indian, like today, you think of people from that part of Asia. But at one point, it was you were describing Native Americans. I assure you, many Americans still refer to them as Indians, even though it's not the same. But let us hop into the actual story here because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So newlyweds Gil and Lana Martin try to establish a farm in the Mohawk Valley, but are menaced by Indians and Tories as the Revolutionary War begins. So you get the gist there. This is an amazing one. Oh boy. I just really enjoyed the fight between the whole Indians thing going on. It makes me wonder on because we have to see the war from the eyes of not from a soldier but from a whole newlywed couple. It's a really intriguing way of seeing things. So usually it's from the eyes of a soldier or a general or like a politician. But that's just how it be. Let me go into trivia. We do have some very lovely trivia here for this one. The battle, so vividly described by Gil Martin, or rather Henry Fonda, is the bloody Battle of Oriskany. I probably said that wrong, by the way, which had one of the highest casualty rates of any battle in the war. It took place on August 6, 1777, and involved only North American troops, Tory, Patriot, and Indian, and was part of what became the overall Battle of Saratoga. As the Tory and Indian troops were commanded by a subordinate of Gentleman Johnny Bourgain, General Nicholas Herkimer, who was wounded in the battle, did not receive adequate medical attention, as they became infected and he died 10 days later from blood loss. After amputation on August 16th, he was 49 years old. Despite Gill's claims that the colonials gave them a licking, the Tories and Indians suffered only 150 casualties, while the Patriots sustained 450. Henry Fonda is a direct descendant of the Fondas that settled in the Mohawk Valley in the mid-17th century. That is a very cool piece of trivia, by the way. Henry's fifth great-great-grandfather, Dewell Gillies Fonda, who was too old to fight in a Revolutionary War, was killed and scalped in 1780 by an Indian that supported General Sir John Johnson. The Tories, at the same time, Henry's fourth great-grandfather, Adam Dewell Fonda, and his brother John Fonda were taken as prisoners and held in Canada for 2 years. So yeah, we have some pretty deep lore here. It's pretty intriguing to know that you're playing a role in a time frame where your actual family your family was actually there at one point, so long ago. The Icarus or Icarus Confederation was split in its loyalties during the Revolution. The Ondays sided with the Americans, while the Mohawks and Senecas joined with the Huron and Nisiping First Nation, Ojibwas and Algonquins on the side of the British. Yeah, these are names I cannot pronounce. I apologize. Overall, I think this film, I don't want to hand out so many high scores. I think a 6 is more than enough for this film. It was great. I enjoyed it nonetheless. So let us go to the next film. This one is a banger. Like I said way earlier, this is a year where we're gonna have a lot of bangers, and this is a banger. Gone with the Wind. Our director here is Victor Fleming, and our stars is Thomas Mitchell, Barbara O'Neill, and Vivian Leigh, who I believe we've heard Vivian Leigh's name a few times on this particular podcast. So if I remember correctly, this is based off a book. I only say this because I recall quite a lot doing book reports on this in school. So let me describe to you our lovely story. A sheltered and manipulative Sovereign Belle and a roguish profiteer face off in a turbulent romance as the society around them crumbles, with the end of slavery and is rebuilt during the Civil War and Reconstruction periods. So we are having a very dramatic time. I thought this film was, oh, how do I even begin to tackle how well I thought this was? Because the sound superb. Oh, oh. Also, it has our favorite lady, Hattie McDaniel, which is a lovely African American actress who has appeared in a number of things we've actually discussed prior with these types of films. She was, of course, given a rather, one could say, offensive name of in the film. She was called Mammy. So you can imagine where they were going with here. What I will say is I believe this film tackled the emotion, the emotion factor extremely well. The cinematography overall and the romance, it has an enduring legacy. It truly, it's one of those things where, despite the fact it came out like so damn long ago, not just the fucking film, the book, it has such a lasting impact that it's still being talked about today. This is like that kind of film. And you'll never hear these snobs, these book snobs, these movie snobs shut up about this film sometimes. This is how it is. But let's talk about the lovely trivia. When Rhett pours Mammy a drink after the birth of Bonnie for a joke during a take, Clark Gable actually poured alcohol instead of the usual tea into the decanter, without Hattie McDaniel knowing it until she took a swig. Hattie McDaniel became the first black person to be nominated for and win an Academy Award. Ooh. The fact that Hattie McDaniel would be unable to attend a premiere in a racially segregated Atlanta outraged Clark Gable so much that he threatened to boycott the premiere unless she could attend. He later relented when she convinced him to go. Aww. I like Clark Gable. He's such a good man. Oh. 10, by the way. This film is getting a 10. Oh man. It's just this seeing these whole these whole things involving blacks of the time. It's really does break my heart. But it is nice knowing to see that the times are slowly but certainly changing. Like this is a white man trying to stick up for an African person, a black person, a person of color, and it's something so empowering about that. I like that shit. But enough of me on a spiel. Let's go to our next film. Did I not load it up? I didn't load it up. I think I skipped the film, and that is on me. Give me a moment. So I'm supposed to do this in order, obviously, but I skipped the film by mistake. That's okay though. So I forgot to cover The Four Feathers. It is another film, but it takes place, I believe, in Africa. So the film is directed by Zoltan Korda. The stars include John Clements, Rolf Richardson, and C. Aubrey Smith. The film is about a British army officer resigns, burning his last day summons to war in the Sudan. Accusing him of cowardice, his girlfriend and 3 friends give him white feathers to gain redemption. He shadows his friends to save their lives. Wow. So I think this thing is so important that it actually does show the difference between us now and then is that they will shame you for that shit back then, like full on. But these days, it's a bit different. Yeah, you'll get shamed by some people like, oh, you're trying to avoid war. What a fucking coward. What a pussy. Some people were like, well, no, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. It's kind of weird to think about that difference. But let us go down to our lovely. Oh yeah, I did it. Good. I almost forgot. Like I did. Almost forgot I did something there. Let's go to the trivia. Director Zoltan Korda's own remake of this film, Storm Over the Nile in 1955, reused a lot of the battle sequences from this movie, which did not lend themselves very well. Which did not lend themselves very well to the cropping not necessary to achieve the width of a cinemascope ratio, nor did the comparative fuzziness blend well with the new footage. The action scenes photographed by Osman Borodel, or Brilade, were not only filmed where the historical battles had taken place, but also included among the many extras people who had witnessed or participated in the fighting more than 40 years earlier. These battle scenes were further benefited from director Zoltan Korda's expertise as a large-scale action and his early experience as a cavalry officer. Stages pulled by hordes of Sudanese Lonana were constructed specifically for the production in the exact period, detail at great cost. Oh boy. So this is a film I will admit openly and admittedly I do not recall that well. I do recall that scene though. That is something I do recall. This is a film where I don't feel too comfortable giving it a solid score. This is a film I will note down like right now that I do have to come back to in a rewind video. But just from pure memory, a 6. But it's probably higher than that. Just remember, I'll be back to this one. So next up is Goodbye, Mr. Chips. This is a one I actually did not think I think I would actually like, but I ended up enjoying it. So one second, I need a drink. So this is directed by two people. We have Sam Wood and Sidney Franklin. And our stars is Robert Donat, Greer Garson, and Terry Gilburn. So I do recall Robert and maybe Greer, but I do not recall the third person. So, to give you a very short and sweet, simple description of this is about an aged teacher and a former headmaster of a boarding school who basically recalls his career and his personal life over the last few decades. That's just the whole thing. Of course, it does have some romance going on. That's just how it be with these type of films, honestly. um, I thought it was interesting. Just seeing this man's long career, seeing his colleagues, the people, his students, and of course his romance that changed his whole life. Overall, that was the entire damn film. Pretty simple. I enjoyed it though. So let's get to the trivia. Oh boy, how long have we been going on for? It came in. Oh yeah, it was not that long at all. It's only been like half an hour, give or take. A 33-year-old Robert Donat, age 63, 1870 to 1933, over the course of this movie, he remarked, "As soon as I put the mustache on, I felt the part. Even if I did look like a great Aradel, Aradel come out of a puddle." Greer Garson's performance runs a little under 25 minutes, yet she receives an Oscar nomination in the Best Actresses category, one of the shortest performances to have been nominated. After Mr. Chipping's retirement is announced and he receives a gift from his students, he gives a late quote. I cannot pronounce that, but I'll try. Havik, or Hick, Olam Mezzanine Jacobit is a quote from Virgil's Aeneid, in which Aeneas comforts his storm-ravaged troops. Translated in more modern terms, comes out as someday, perhaps, remembering even this will be a pleasure. Okay. So how do I... So I enjoyed this. I did not expect to actually enjoy it. But, it's another film that, it's a massive recanting, and I really do enjoy those. 8. Yeah. I think an 8. I think an 8 is very, very much worthy for this one. Now this next one takes place in an area that I did not expect. And I believe we only seen this covered like one other time, maybe 2 times. So it is directed by. Oh wait, I should actually say the name of this film. Gunga Din. Probably said it wrong. Probably said it wrong. What the hell was that? This is directed by George Stevens and has stars such as Cary Grant, Victor McLagan, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. We have a lovely cast. I really liked this film. But the film is about it's set in 19th century India. Three British soldiers and a native water bearer must stop a secret mass revival of the murderous Fugue cult before it can rampage across the land. Oh boy. There are things to be said about some people in here, but it's not the time or place, I suppose. Don't offend nobodies. So while I enjoyed it, this is a film that where I just I have to say this now is while I'm not somebody who really cares about the historical accuracy that much, this film does not give a damn uh, about history. That's for damn sure. They're really right on the fact that people what's the word? They don't know much about India. So they're like, wow, this is exotic. This film, I don't say this. It really puts imperialism into a very bright light. And again, this is a product of its time. This is when the British Empire basically was still at its damn peak, its complete height, before it's completely destroyed for their own stupidity, I suppose you could say. So it's not an excuse. It's just something to put in perspective. That this film, has some baggage there. But let me go down to the trivia, because oh boy, do we have any? We have plenty. The gong in the title sequence in this is the same used to summon King Kong 6 years earlier. Budgeted at $1.9 million, this was the most expensive film RKO had produced to date. It was nearly $500,000 over budget. This was the second highest grossing film of 1939, behind Gone with the Wind, 1939. You know what? Why not? One extra one. Douglas Fairbanks Jr. said in an interview that the backdrop and locations were so convincing that they fooled Indians who had visited the real-life Khyber Pass. When he told them the truth, they refused to believe him. Okay, buddy. But this film, I want to like the film. I'll say that immediately. I want to, but man, the historical connotations, 5. This next one, we all should know. If you're a Gen Z or you're a millennial, you just know it. You at least you know some iteration of it. There's another banger, by the way. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. This is an amazing film, and I truly loved The Hunchback. The actor was perfect for the damn role. So the director is William Direttel, or Direttel? I said that right. Stars include Charles Laughton, Cedric Hardwicke, and Thomas Mitchell. A pretty damn solid lineup for the main, stars. So let's go down to how to describe this film, of course, a description. But I suppose I don't really need to describe it to you all, but just how it is. Storyline includes King Louis, and I cannot read the numerals, so you're going to have to forgive me. Give me 1 second. Yes. King Louis XI. Jesus, how did I not know that? Is a wise old king, and Frollo is the Chief Justice. Frollo gazes on Gypsy Girl Esmeralda in the church during Fool's Day and sends Quasimodo to catch her. Quasimodo. Quasimodo with the girl was captured by Phoebus, captain of the guard. Frees the girl. The court sentenced Quasimodo to be flogged, and the only one who will give him water while he is tied in the square is Esmeralda. Later at a party of nobles, Esmeralda again meets both Frollo, who is bewitched by her, and Phoebus. When Phoebus is stabbed to death, Esmeralda is accused of the murder, convicted by the court, and sentenced to hang. Clopin, king of the beggars, Gringor, Esmeralda's husband, and Quasimodo, the bell ringer, all try different ways to save her from the gallows. So that is the spick and span of the whole film. As always, I try not to say too much, just so you guys can actually, go ahead and watch it yourselves. This is more, as always, it was us just giving our opinions on how we thought the film was. I don't really care for giving out spoilers. It actually segues me into what I want to do very, very soon. Is I'm gonna call them like one and dones, where I will like focus on a whole video on like a single film, and I'll basically try and break the film apart, or it's not set in stone, but that's my idea for now. So let's hop into trivia. Which, let me actually check the time. Well, we made some really good damn time here. The only movie screened at the first Cannes Film Festival, the remainder of the festival was cancelled after Adolf Hitler invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939. That's kind of fucking crazy. It was the only film shown because of that. The scene in which Quasimodo rings the cathedral bells for Esmeralda was shot by day. World War II began in Europe. Director and star were so overwhelmed, the scene took on a new meaning, with Charles Laughton ringing the bells frantically and William Dartle forgetting to yell cut. Finally, the actor just stopped ringing when he became too tired to continue. Later, Laughton said, "I couldn't think of Esmeralda in that scene at all. I can only think of the poor people out there, going to fight that bloody war. To arouse the world, to stop the terrible butchery, awake, that is what I felt when I was ringing that bell." Wow. That is really powerful. Whew. For the scene in which Quasimodo is whipped, Charles Laughton instructed an assistant director to twist his ankle outside of the camera's range so he would be... That's so fucked up. So he would be really in pain. Even though the heavy hump and rubber body suit, he felt every lash and often came badly bruised. Before the 16th take, director William Dartle whispered to him, "Now, Charles, listen to me. Let's do it one more time, but this time I want you to suffer." Corda Laughton's wife, Elsa Lanchester, but her actor never forgave him for that. "I wouldn't fucking hide her. You're a piece of shit. I'm gonna whoop you next." Holy shit. But again, it goes without saying, this movie is a 10. This is like what? This is like our third 10 of this episode? Oh boy. Now let's calm it down a bit more. This is a film where, meh, whatever. Whatever. It's called Love Affair. It is filmed, or rather directed by Leo McCarey. And the stars include Irene Dunne, Charles Boyer, and Maria Ospinskaya. I probably said that all sorts of wrong. Most likely. So, to give you a shortened span of this film, it's about a French playboy, an American former nightclub singer, fall in love aboard a ship. That's the whole damn film. There you go. We can go ahead now and skip this one. I'm kidding. But I considered it. But let's get into the trivia. After this movie was released, restaurants were suddenly bombarded with requests for pink champagne. This was Irene Dunn's favorite among her films. This also happened to be Charles Boyer's favorite among his films as well. In 1957, director Leo McCarey remade the movie as An Affair to Remember, 1957, starring Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr. Grant and Irene Dunne had previously co-starred in The Awful Truth in 1997, which was also directed by McCarey. The movie was remade a second time as A Love Affair in 1994, starring Warren Beatty, Annette Bening, and Katharine Hepburn. Directed by Glenn Gordon Caron. Oh my lord. Something I do want to mention, just very briefly, because it's something I honestly skipped over. Back with Gone with the Wind, it actually included a very iconic phrase that has been memed and parodied to hell way in the future. There's a scene where it was said by I believe Scarlett. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And she said, tomorrow is another day. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. It was in my mind. I'm like, wow, how the fuck did I forget that? But I believe I already said all of the trivia for Love Affair, which I imagine we'll come back to eventually for the sequels, or rather the remakes in this case. Okay, next up to our next film. We're actually blowing through these. We're almost done, which is good. I like being done. So Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. That is the film. It was filmed by I keep saying film. It was directed by Frank Capra, and our stars include Jean Arthur, James Stewart, and Claude Rains. And the film is about a naive youth leader is appointed to fill a vacancy in the United States Senate. His idealistic plans probably collide with corruption at home. It's a refuge from his hero in Washington, but he tries to forge ahead despite attacks on his character. And that is something that it makes you really think. If you like having your hero come after you is something else. uh, but this is a film where I will say it really tests the character's endurance, and I think this is a film that everyone should at least watch once in their life. It's really a test of endurance, and I think it's something that really resonates with me. But let's go down and head into the trivia. The scenes where James Stewart wanders around in amazement at the Washington monuments were stolen since the U.S. Park Services had denied the studio's permission to film near them. Ah. In 1942, when a ban on American films was imposed in German-occupied France, the title theaters chose Mr. Smith Goes to Washington for their last movie before the ban went into effect. One Paris theater reportedly screened the film nonstop for 30 days prior to the ban. Ah. According to New York Times, the Boy Scouts of America objected to having any part in the Capra's reform movement. Capra therefore had to use the fictitious name of the Boy Rangers. Ah. But yeah, this film, I think it's a 7. Yeah, I think a 7 is quite worthy. We are to get up to a whole other banger, by the way. We're almost very to it, and I'm going to talk about it quite a bit. But next up is, I'm going to say this wrong, Ninotchka. So it is about, or rather, it's our damn rom-com. This is, I believe, the first official one on our damn list that's a rom-com. So it was written by Ernest Lishovich, which is a name we actually heard before, I believe. And our stars is Greta Gerbo, Melvin Douglas, and Ina Claire. So some pretty heavy hitters, all things considered. But of course, the real heavy hitter is Miss Garbo. So it's about a stern Soviet woman who is sent to Paris to supervise the sale of jewels seized from the Russian nobles, but herself attracted to a man who represents everything she is supposed to detest. I think this is very generic and very cheesy, but Lord, do I love it anyway. Just think about seeing a Soviet woman in a situation. It hits a little bit different. Ooh, it makes me wonder how well it did in they did the Soviets. Maybe they even heard about it until way later. But we'll see. Let's hop into the trivia. Berla Luxigi, I don't know if I said that wrong, right or wrong, received 4th billing even though he appears only near the end of the movie, and only in one scene with Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo had her misgivings about appearing in a comedy and was particularly nervous about the drunk scene, which she considered to be highly vulgar. Different times, man, different times. Though Greta Garbo's famous hat is in the film and was made by her regular costumier, Adrian, it was in fact based on a sketch of Greta Garbo herself. I don't know, I was butchering that one there. Jesus. So how do I think of this film overall for a score? I think this film is deserving of at least a 7. But let us go into our next film that I believe will it I believe will really set the pacing here. Of Mice and Men. Yes, like the book. It's written by Louis Milestone and stars Burgess Meredith, Betty Field, and Lon Chaney Jr. And of course, the story is about a mentally disabled giant and his level headed guardian find work at a sadistic cowboy ranch in Depression era America. And now you know. I imagine most people who have seen this have at least heard of Mice and Men. You probably read the book in school, or maybe seen a different iteration of the film. I don't know if there actually was any other iterations of this film. Could have been. Probably. It was popular enough for it. Give me one sec. So, let me go over here and head down to our trivia. Although, you know what? Fuck it. I will describe the story a little bit more, just in case the people in the back have not seen this one or read it. George Melton and Lenny Small are migrant workers in 1930s Depression. Lenny is mentally disabled and George looks after him. While working his hands on a western ranch, they dream of owning their own ranch. An opportunity may be available. The current ranch is owned by a sadistic man who has a flirtatious wife. This wife plays a very major role later. I will say that. So, this film is very important, extremely important, in fact, and to the point where I will say, trivia wise, it is one of the first films that have pre credits opening sequence. It is one of the first. It hits different. Lon Chaney Jr. wore special shoes to play Lenny. He's increased his height by 6 inches. Lon Chaney Jr. had played the role of Lenny in the Los Angeles stage production of Mice and Men, and asked director Louis Milestone for a screen test. Milestone was planning on casting May, but by the end of all the tests, Milestone had changed his mind and cast Chaney in the part without a test of his own. Chaney had appeared in more than 50 films by that point in his career, but of Mice and Men, 1939 was his first major role. He really gave him his big break. It's interesting. But that is all for that one. And I don't think I need to say this here, but another 10. It was just that damn good. Now this next one is a film I didn't really care for that much. It's whatever. I feel like I might offend somebody about that one, but this is what I'll say. One of the people here looked like AOC, which made me laugh my ass off. I'm like, AOC, is that you, time traveler? um, so Bette Davis, in the film, due to how her hair is styled, when she's wearing her dress and the veil, she looks like AOC, and that threw me off. Our director is Edmund Goulding. Our stars is Bette Davis, Miriam Hopkins, and George Brent. So, pretty tough lineup. Pretty good, pretty good. The arrival of an ex-lover on the young woman's wedding day sets in motion a chain of events which will alter her and her cousin's lives forever. All you need to do is not cheat. I'm just messing around. But let's get up to the trivia. Here we go. Okay. There was much bad blood between Miriam Hopkins and Bette Davis, who had won an Oscar for Jezebel, a role that Hopkins had played on Broadway and expected to play in the movie, making things worse. Oh, wait, worse. Oh my lord. Davis had an affair with Hopkins' husband, Annabelle Levick, while making The Sisters. Jeez. One thing I've noticed about the people who have done these, like the whole film thing, man, is that these people are kind of scummy. like they're cheating over a damn place. They're kind of scumbags. Like no matter how big you are, you still like a scumbag. You see these people like Jesus. To get the effects of an aging, Bette Davis wore no lipstick or eyeshadow, and makeup artist Perk Westmore used a pale ashen base on her face. On her first day on set, Hopkins wore an exact duplicate of the dress Davis had worn in Jezebel. Davis reflected on his time with Hopkins in her autobiography with the following observations. Miriam used, and I must give her credit, near a trick in the book. I became fascinated watching them appear one by one. When she was supposed to be listening to me, her eyes would wander off into some other world, in which she was the sweetest of them all. Her restless little spirit was impatiently awaiting her next line, her golden curls quivering with expectancy. Oh my lord. And of course, a bonus, because I said so, Humphrey Bogart was originally cast as Clem Spender, but studio head Jack L. Warner felt he looked neither heroic nor romantic and had fired him 2 days of film. Jeez. That's kind of tough. Like I said, this film was not one that really hit me too much. It did catch me off guard though. 5. That's a little harsh. Maybe 6, but nothing more than that, honestly. Let me go down to our next film. Oh my lord, we made some really good time here. We're almost done. Let me make sure I have everything right here. Okay. So our next film is Only Angels Have Wings. Red Bull gives you wings. At a remote South American trading... you know what? Hold on. I keep forgetting. There's a process to this. Director is Howard Hawks, and our stars include Cary Grant, Jean Offer, and Rita Hayworth. And now to the description of his story. At a remote South American trading port, the manager of an air freight company is compelled to risk the lives of his pilots in order to win an important contract as a traveling American showgirl. Harlot stops in town. Showgirl in Harlot, by the way. Sorry. So, first and foremost, I think Miss Jane. I keep saying John, but it's a woman. It's Jane. How did I mess that up? How did I mess it up? How did I mess that up? Oh my lord! I was in this whole damn video too. I'm stupid. Sorry. Jane did amazing, and so did Rita. I think they did perfectly. Also, her hair was iconic as fuck in this. I'm referring to Jane. So to trivia. Sorry, I'll just pause there. I was thinking to myself like, wow, that was stupid of me. I made a whole mistake the whole damn time. So trivia. Howard Hawks had known a real life flyer who once parachuted from a burning plane. His co-pilot died in the ensuing crash, and his fellow pilots shunned him for the rest of his life. Aww. Calling Barnaca later became a recurring line in Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies cartoons. Richard Barthelmess had deep facial scars that resulted from an infection due to plastic surgery. The only way to cover them up was with heavy makeup, but Howard Hawks convinced him to leave them the way they were, because those scars tell a story and are important to your character. Hawks also removed planks to make Barthelmess appear smaller to reflect his character's inferiority among his fellow pilots. Oh my. But, oh man, this film. What do I want to give it? Because this is a film where, it's a whole other time where I could actually skip this one, honestly, because I can't remember it that much. This is a film that I did not exactly watch in the order of anything, really. I'll probably revisit it at another date, but in another 6 for a film like this one. But the next film I did watch, I actually words. I rewatched this one. I got stuck on a loop there. My bad, guys. Our next film is called The Roaring Twenties. It's directed by Raoul Walsh. And our stars include James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, and Priscilla Lane. We have a very lovely lineup of some amazing actors and actresses. So, yay. 3 men attempt to make a living in Prohibitionist America as returning home from fighting together in World War One. Oh, The Roaring Twenties. And it's one of those things where it's not like, it was like that fucking long ago either. Like it literally just happened like not long ago. like almost a decade fucking prior. Or rather, I guess in this case, it was a decade prior or beyond that a little bit. Whatever. You know what I meant. But this is, I believe, the last time, or one of the last times we'll see Bogart and Cagney together. It was unfortunate, of course. So, this, for trivia, this marked the end of James Cagney's cycle of gangster films for Warner Brothers. Cagney wanted to diversify his roles, and he would not play a gangster again until White Heat, 1949, 10 years later. Interesting. This film is responsible for popularizing the phrase the Roaring Twenties to refer to the historical decade from 1920 to 1929. Today, there is a misconception that this phrase was used during the decade itself. However, the phrase did not become popular until the 1940s. During the 1920s, contemporary labels for this era were the Jazz Age and the Plastic Age. Both were later routine by the Hollywood screenwriters to serve as film titles. The Jazz Age, 1929, and the Plastic Age, 1925. Writer F. Scott Fitzgerald is credited with popularizing the Jazz Age as an era-specific label. Oh man, I honestly did not know that. This is pretty cool, to like learn that. Oh. So I almost forgot there's a little bit more here. The censors demanded that their screenplay insert extended scenes of Eddie Burlett, James Cagney, as an unshaving alcoholic bum in order to demonstrate that crime does not pay. And I feel like that really added to it, so it wasn't that big a deal. Unlike other times where I would actually complain about it. But overall, like a solid 9 film, at least in my opinion. Next up, the rules of the game, and this was recorded. Are you kidding me? Directed by Jean Renoir, and stars Marcel Dalio, Nora Gregor, and Paulette Delboest. I probably said that wrong. I don't care. A bourgeois life in France at the onset of World War II, as the rich and their poor servants meet up at a French chateau. And I only know that word because of Dragon Age. I kid you not. But do I think so? Unlike other films, this film is quite historically accurate, at least from what I understand. But it kind of lacks the oomph that is really necessary, at least in my opinion. I just didn't. At least do I think this film is a classic? Of course, and it's a very nice critique of society of the time. Like between warring periods, but beyond that, I didn't really care for it. Let us go to the trivia. As a success of La Grande Illusion, 1937, and The Human Beast, 1938, Jean Renoir and his nephew Claude Renoir set up their own production company, Les Nouvelles Editions Françaises, or NEF. This was their first and last production as the company went into bankruptcy and was dissolved due to their ban. To the ban of their movie after just 3 weeks of shows. Wow, they got hit. The fact this movie was a complete failure when it came out in 1939 is partly a myth. The distributor, Gaumont, was uncomfortable with the theme, and even before the premiere, the attendance was low. But it was a summer in Paris. There was turmoil around the movie, conducting to public violent reception of it. Whistling, booing, and fighting among spectators, one viewer lighting matches to a newspaper. Oh wow! Trying to burn the theater down. In threats to other theaters, Renoir himself thought it was a complete flop. Mainly impressed by a few hostile reactions, he saw firsthand during the projections. His film was banned, but so were 57 other films, such as Carnet's famous Port of Shadows, 1938, and Daybreak, 1939. Critical reception was balanced, as a study showed about a third was positive, and a third negative, and a third reserved. Wow, I'm really missing with words today. I just this pretty deep in. Thank goodness is pretty pretty late into this, of course. I was going pretty strong for the rest of this, so it's okay. Chosen as the 100 movies that shook the world by Premiere Magazine, October 1998 issue. The rank was about the most daring movies ever made. And this film will get I don't want to be a downer about this film. 4. This will probably be my lowest rated film for this year. Next one is intriguing. But first, I require water. We talked a lot there. Hmm. Oh boy. The Son of Frankenstein. This is what this film is. It is directed by Roland V. Lee. And our stars include Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, and Bela Lugosi. Or Lugosi? I don't know how to pronounce that. Returning to the ancestral castle after the death of the monster, the son of Dr. Frankenstein meets a mad shepherd who is hiding in this creature. To clear the family name, he revives the creature and tries to rehabilitate him. Oh boy. Okay. So I have opinions on this film. I think this is my opinion. I think, in my opinion, that Frankenstein's son and the design for the monster, it was kind of meh, in my opinion. It does not hit as hard as the OG. But do I think this film is bad? No. This is a really good film. It is. But let's hop into the trivia. Boris Karloff used a harness when he carried Donnie to Dunnigan so that the little boy would not fall. Dunnigan has related how much he enjoyed working with Karloff. Because of the decline in Bela Lugosi's career, he was originally cast for a very low fee. Roland V. Lee felt that Lugosi was being taken advantage of, and he had fattened up his part by writing more dialogue for Igor that Bela was paid more appropriately. That is amazing. And one thing I actually noticed about like this cast and the last cast was for the last time we talked about this, I believe something very similar happened, which I think is very cool when we're actually like trying to like fucking like fight for each other. I like that stuff. Frank Skinner's musical score for this film was with its slightly off-key horns and plucked strings, replicating a human's heartbeat, was endlessly recycled in Universal horror films throughout the 1940s. And that's how it is sometimes, for real. 7. So this film gets a solid 7. And we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films left. Oh man, this has been a journey. So next up, we have Stagecoach. And it is directed by John Ford and stars Claire Trevor, John Wayne. Wait, that John Wayne? I'm checking. It is that John Wayne. And Andy Devine. A group of people traveling on a stagecoach find their journey completed by the threat of Gardimo and learn something about each other in the process. Pretty simple film, honestly. Oh boy, I'm about to lose my fucking voice. I've been going for a while. We're almost done. I can keep pushing through. So, of course, John Wayne, who plays Rango Kid, did damn good. And of course, Claire Trevor, who plays Dallas. It's been a whole damn video. I'm not talking about it like not once. The Goonometer. It's time to rate this particular actress. She gets a solid 7 on the Goonometer. All right, it's enough of that. Sorry about that, guys. It's just sometimes I like to play around a little bit. But now we know that. Let's go to the trivia. The hat that John Wayne wears was his own. He would wear it in many westerns during the next 2 decades before retiring it after Howard Hawks' Rio Bravo in 1959 because it was simply falling apart. After that, the hat was displayed under glass in his home. Orson Welles has put forth this film as a textbook example of filmmaking and said he had watched it more than 40 times in preparation for the making of Citizen Kane, 1941. Very excited for that one, by the way. Very excited. One scene which required the stagecoach full of passengers to be floated across a river, technicians deemed impossible to pull off. John Ford considered removing the scene from the script altogether. Yakima Cannell, however, suggested tying the coach to hollowed out logs, which would increase the buoyancy and thus offset the weight of the fully loaded coach. In addition, as an underwater cabin was used to help pull the stagecoach, Kennett's plan worked and the scene was retained for the film. That's cool. Oh boy. So, I enjoyed this film. it was not a bad film at all. And it also had John Wayne. So I guess a 7, maybe, actually, an 8. An eight feels a bit more appropriate. So, next up, this one is a unique film in the fact that it is from Japan. Imperial Japan, to be exact. Oh boy. It is called The Story of the Last Chrysanthemum. I said that wrong. That's okay, though. Directed by Kenji Mizuguchi and stars Shitoro Hanayagi, Kawakuchi Takeda, and Rotoro Kwanami. It's a lot of damn names. Oh boy. This is what I'll say. When it comes to films, this film was, despite coming out from a dictatorship, obviously, this is a film that was really ahead of its damn time. I'll say that off the damn rip. I think Mitaguchi, or Mitaguchi, how do you pronounce his damn name? He is a legend. And I think it was his best film. I've seen a few of his films that actually is actually like a whole part of like my plan, by the way, for my my one and dones. I do want to go back to him, and it'll be a very, very fun time. But anywho, let's get to the trivia. This film is said by critics and scholars to epitomize the one scene, one long shot aesthetic of director Kenji Mizuguchi. In fact, there are many scenes that have no internal cuts, and the entire film contains almost no close-ups. It contains only 142 individual shots. In the latest 2012 BFI Greatest Films of All Time poll, available online, 9 critics and 3 directors chose this film as one of the 10 best films ever made. And I agree with them. This film gets a damn 10. It's solid. It's fucking perfect. Now, we have a whole other film coming up. And this film is one, as I said before, we should probably all know. It's Gen Z and the millennials, and even boomers should all know this one. The Wizard of Oz. And it even came up with on the damn thing as I said it. I love it. So, let me hop over to it. There we go. So, Wizard of Oz. Oh boy. It is directed by Victor Fleming, George Cukor, Norman Taurog, and stars Judy Garland. This is her real big role. Frank Morgan and Ray Boyer. So, something that's may not be known, but I've mentioned a few times. This is actually a role where it really fucked up damn Judy, I believe. And also fucked up a number of other actresses and actors. This film was quite dangerous for its time. Ooh, boy. So, young Dorothy Gale and her dog Toto are swept away by a tornado from their Kansas farm to the magical land of Oz, and embark on a quest with 3 new friends to see a wizard, who can return her to her home and fulfill the other's wishes. And I don't really explain the story from there, because it's pretty much the same for almost every iteration, basically. But, of course, this film has an amazing musical score. Over the Rainbow is perhaps one of my fucking favorites. Oh boy. And of course the design, there's so much going on here for this film. Oh. But let us go to the trivia. Judy Garland found it difficult to be afraid of Margaret Hamilton because she was such a nice lady off camera. Many shots were trimmed down or edited out of the film because they were too intense for families and children. In particular, one deleted scene shown the tornadoes completely enveloping the farmhouse. Also, later in the film, a lot of the which of the Witch's scenes were either trimmed or deleted entirely, as Margaret Hamilton's performance was thought to be too frightening for audiences. Oh boy. Margaret Hamilton, a lifelong fan of the Oz books, was ecstatic when she learned the producers were considering her for a part in the film. When she phoned her agent to find out what role she was up for, her agent simply replied, "The witch, who else?" This film, without a doubt, this is actually where I'm going to look a bit above here. This film is a 12. We're supposed to be going from 1 to 10. This film is a 12, but that's what I'll say immediately. It's fucking perfect. And the only thing I wish was different was that the actresses and the actors did not get done so damn dirty. That's all I really really wished. But it was different times, different damn times. But let's go to our next film, The Women. It was directed by George Cukor and stars Norma Shearer, Joan Crawford, and Rosalind Russell. It's about a study of the lives of and romantic entanglements of various interconnected women. And I think it is pretty intriguing. It kind of reminds me of damn Golden Girls. So that's what it really reminds me of. All things considered. Um, but let's get the trivia. There's not much else to really say about this film, honestly. There are more than 130 roles in this film, all played by women. Phyllis Pova, Marjorie Main, Mary Cecile, and Marjorie Wood originated their roles in the play, which opened the sequence September 7th, 1937, and had 666 performances at the New York and Ethel Barrymore Theater at Broadway, which unusually, but quite proudly, is displayed in the movie's opening credits. No doubles were used in the fight sequence, where Rosalind Russell bites Paulette Goddard, despite the permanent scar resulting from the bite. The actresses remained friends. At least you have something to remember your friend by. George Cukor told Rosalind Russell to play the part of Sylvia, the very broad, because in this picture, Sylvia is breaking up a family and there's a child involved. And if you're a heavy, Cukor told her, audiences will hate you. Don't play it like a heavy. It's just be ridiculous. Of this advice, Russell said he was 100% right. I was frightened to death, but from then on, I did what he said, and everything that came to me, the women, namely my reputation as a comedian, I owned to George. He was marvelous to work for. He could think of 100 bits of a business for every moment. Aww. And let's get the last piece of trivia. At Mary Haynes' luncheon, offered Nancy Blake asked Sylvia Fuller, What are you made up for? The Seeing Eye. The Seeing Eye is America's first guide dog school. The first guide dog school. It was founded in 1929. All right, 2 more films and we're done. Well, we're done with the film part. We still have to do the Syphies. For what I thought was the best of that year, and then the music, and then we're done. So our next film is Wuthering Heights. I actually quite frequently enjoyed this fucking film. It's directed by William Wyler, stars Marl Oberon, Lawrence Oliver, and David Niven. It's about a servant in the house of Wuthering Heights tells a traveler the unfortunate tale of the lovers Kathy and Heathcliff. I enjoyed this so much. Oh boy. I thought the person that played Heathcliff did so good, and of course Kathy. Ugh. Of course, that's by the way Lawrence Oliver and Merle or Oberon, of course. What I'll say is, I think this film. How do I say this? It is a masterpiece. That is what I will say. The trivia. The movie only depicts 16 of the novel's 34 chapters, and it is set in the 19th century instead of 1771 to 1801. Producer Samuel Godwin felt the script was too dark for a romance movie, and he asked several people to do a rewrite on the script, including a young John Huston, who said that the script needed no rewrite. It was perfect as it was. Lawrence Oliver found himself becoming increasingly annoyed with the director William Wyler's exhausting style of filmmaking. After yet another take, he said to exclaim, "For God's sake, I did it sitting down. I did it with a smile. I did it with a smirk. I did it scratching my ear. I did it with my back to the camera. How do you want me to do it?" Wyler's retort was, I want it better. However, Oliver said that these multiple takes helped him learn to succeed as a movie actor. That's good. At least he took something from the bad. So, I think this film gets a 9. Despite me saying it was a masterpiece, I do want to withhold more 10s, of course. I give them out kind of willy-nilly with this one. In prime, it is very much time for the final film, Young Mr. Lincoln. We save the best for last, of course. It is directed by John Ford and stars Henry Fonda, Alice Brady, and Marjorie Weaver. And this is like one of our first times I believe we'll see a take on Mr. Lincoln, of course, the former president. It is a fictionalized account of the early life of the American president as a young lawyer facing his greatest court case, which I think is amazing. This film was also, by the way, nominated for one Oscar, which I believe it like won like a bunch of damn whole things going on there. But let us go to the trivia. John Ford and producer Daryl F. Zanuck fought in an extended battle over the control of the film. Ford even had unused takes of the film destroyed, so the studio could not insert them into the movie. One scene that Ford insisted on cutting was a scene where Lincoln had met his future assassin, a very young John Wilkes Booth. That'd have been horrible if they did that. I don't like that, but it's good. It's good. It ain't included. Henry Fonda originally turned down the role of Lincoln, saying he didn't think he could play such a great man. He changed his mind after John Ford asked him to do a screen test in full makeup. After viewing himself as Lincoln in his test footage, Fonda liked what he saw, except the part. He later told an interviewer, "I felt as if I were portraying Christ himself on film." And finally, Henry Fonda wore especially made boots that made him appear taller. Yeah, because Lincoln was a pretty damn tall man. But overall, this film gets a solid 8 from me, bro. I just felt the acting was really damn good overall. But how do I want to? Oh, I should probably hop into the psyches for give my whole opinion on the year itself. So as before, I don't want to cover every single category, and the categories I'll be covering is outstanding production, directing, actor, actress, actor in supporting role, and actress and supporting role. And that is all I will be covering because I'm losing my voice right now, and I'm very much struggling to keep up. So the original winner of the category for outstanding production was Gone with the Wind, and I agree. It was perfect. Directing was to Victor Fleming, and also with Gone in the Wind, I also agree. The actor, oh Lord, my voice. Whew. I actually felt my throat there. Ooh boy, that wasn't good. Um, for the what was it? The best actor, it went to Robert Donat and Goodbye Mr. Chips. And mmm, I have my own opinion about that because I really enjoyed the portrayal of a Cheney and of Mice and Men where we night of course the this year's iteration, and I do believe that like Lon Chaney Jr. did so good, so I'll give that to him. For actress, Bette Davis, but so the original winner was Vivian Leigh with Gone in the Wind, which is of course very much appropriate. For the actor in a supporting role, it went to Thomas Mitchell in Stagecoach, which I mean, in fairness, yes, he did amazing. So I obviously agree with the original. And finally, actress in supporting role, it went to Hattie McDaniel with Gone with the Wind, and of course, I also agree. That is all for this year. For at least with movies. For movies, I truly thought that this was a great year, perhaps the best year for film, and that we have seen thus far. It was so many back-to-back bangers, and I'm so excited to see 1940. I have a whole list already made up for it, and it'll be intriguing. But for at least my voice entirely, let's hop into music. So for 1939, we had, of course, this is the jazz era still, but we had a surprising when it came out of nowhere. Beer Barrel Polka, which really came out of nowhere when I listened to it like for over an hour. I was trying to immerse myself into it. I'm like, wow. What can we have an era for polka? The polka era. I really enjoyed it. And that's my favorite song for this particular year. Um, but for music overall, it was quite samey. Um, I did like the song. What was it? It was the and the Angels Sing by Martha Tilton. I did enjoy that very much so. Um, but I kind of preferred um beer beer barrel polka. Although I did also enjoy South of the Border, Down Mexico Way, and that's a phrase that's inside a game I play a lot. So, but overall, that's this year done and over with. Look forward to this week, man. I have of course art coming up for Wednesday, and on Friday we have of course magazines, and then the week after that we have a whole bunch of cool stuff coming. So I'll see you guys next time. Please like us for more, and peace.